what if you could control technology with just a thought? I mean, it's this idea, right, that's fascinated us forever. This future where thinking something makes it happen.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about brain-computer interfaces, BCIs. The promise is just,
Well, it's huge.
it really is. But getting there, that's the tricky part. Hasn't been easy.
No, not at all. The reality right now is that BCIs face some, let's say, pretty big hurdles. And these aren't small things. They're like fundamental roadblocks that have kind of held things back.
Exactly. When you really look at it, there are these four main challenges that keep popping up. First, there's the invasiveness thing, putting something inside your actual brain. That's a big mental leap for anyone.
A very big leap.
And then, okay, so you get past that. How do you get enough useful data out? The brain is unbelievably complex. That's the bandwidth problem.
Right. Getting the signal out reliably and with enough detail. Then number 3, security. If your brain's connected to tech, how do you possibly protect your thoughts, your identity even, from hackers? It's kind of terrifying if you think about it too much.
It is. Neural security is critical.
And maybe the biggest one, the 4th, is all the ethical stuff. Neural privacy, making sure the person you always stays in control. We've seen some worrying things in early trials, inflammation, scarring, reports of like 40% scarring after a year in some cases. That really highlights the challenges.
Those are absolutely the core issues, which brings us neatly to what we're diving into today. It's a really fascinating development called the Endovascular Neural Interface System. ENIS for short.
ENIS, okay.
Yeah, and this isn't just, a small tweak on existing tech. It's a whole platform developed by Shahryar Ghiasi, and it's designed specifically to tackle all 4 of those big challenges we just mentioned head on.
Okay, so a comprehensive solution then. That sounds ambitious.
It is very.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack that, to look at the 4 kind of foundational innovations that ENIS brings to the table. We want to explore what they could mean for, well, for our brains, for technology, and ultimately what it means for you listening.
Sounds like a plan. Where should we start?
Let's start with safety. Because like we said, that idea of, electrodes actually penetrating brain tissue, that's a hard stop for a lot of people. It's a huge barrier, psychologically and physically. What if you could just sidestep that whole invasive surgery part?
Well, that's exactly the first big innovation with ENIS. It's called the vasoneural scaffold, or VNS.
It's a neural scaffold. Okay.
Instead of drilling or poking into the brain, ENIS uses what's called an endovascular approach. Think of deploying something through the blood vessels.
Through the blood vessels, like a stent.
Kind of like that, yeah. It's this tiny, incredibly fine mesh. The struts are only 5 to 20 micrometers thick, made of a nitinol cobalt composite. It gets delivered using a really small catheter, a 4F femoral catheter, the kind they use in standard, safe vascular procedures, often just going in through the leg.
Wow. So no open brain surgery?
Nope. And using that tiny catheter drastically cuts the risk of, say, hemorrhage by something like 92% compared to the bigger tools needed for direct brain access.
Okay, that's already a massive difference just in terms of getting it in. But implants often cause trouble long-term, right? The body fighting back.
That's another key part. The scaffold has this special coating, is a thermoresponsive hydrogel.
¿Cómo?
Thermoresponsive, meaning it reacts to temperature. So it's relatively rigid at room temperature, which makes it easier to navigate through the blood vessels.
Okay.
But once it reaches body temperature, inside you, it becomes really flexible and soft. It actually matches the compliance, the softness of the brain tissue itself.
Ah, I see. So it fits in better, causes less irritation.
Exactly. And there's more. The coating also has these manganese oxide nanoparticles embedded in it. Their job is to basically neutralize the reactive oxygen species, the harmful stuff the body produces, during an inflammatory response.
So it's actively calming things down at the source.
Precisely. The result is a measured 92% reduction in key inflammatory markers like TNF-alpha and IL-1 beta. So think about the whole process. The VNS reduces that initial insertion trauma by 92% compared to penetrating electrodes.
92%.
And the clinical projection, a 95% reduction in surgical complications overall. Long-term studies, looking at 6 months out, show tiny amounts of fibrosis, like under 9 micrometers. Compare that to over 70 micrometers you might see with penetrating electrodes.
That is a night and day difference in how the body seems to accept it.
It avoids breaching the blood-brain barrier, minimizes trauma. It's a fundamentally less invasive approach.
So what does this mean for you, the potential user? It sounds like it massively lowers the barrier to entry, right? Makes the whole idea of a BCI feel safer, more approachable.
Absolutely. It brings peace of mind. It could make BCIs a realistic option for many more people, potentially opening up applications we haven't even thought of because the interest surgery was just too daunting.
Okay, so VNS tackles safety and invasiveness in a big way. But then there's that data problem we mentioned. The brain is just buzzing with information. How do you get all of that wirelessly without, losing the important bits or needing a backpack full of batteries?
Yeah, the bandwidth bottleneck. It's huge. And that's where ENS brings in its second major innovation, adaptive neuromorphic processing, or ANP.
Adaptive neuromorphic processing. Okay, what does that do?
It's a pretty smart multi-layered system for handling the data flow before it even leaves the device. Think of it like intelligent filtering and processing right at the source.
How does it work?
It's got this three-tier hierarchy. There's a brainstem layer that basically does noise filtering, cleans up the signal right away. Then a limbic layer looks for specific important features, like, say, gamma band power, which can indicate intent.
Okay, so it's pulling out the meaningful patterns.
Exactly. And then there's a cortical layer that uses spiking neural networks, artificial ones, to decode these complex patterns into actual commands or insights.
That sounds very efficient.
Hmm.
But how does it solve the wireless bandwidth problem? Getting that processed data out.
The real magic bullet here is a technique they call sparse residual encoding.
Sparse residual encoding.
Instead of sending all the data points constantly, which is incredibly wasteful, ENIS learns your baseline neural activity. Then it only transmits the changes, the deviations from that baseline, these little deviation vectors.
So just the new information.
Essentially, yes. Imagine sending updates to a document, only sending the changed words, not the whole document every time. This lets ENIS achieve a, frankly, staggering 1,000 to 1 data compression ratio.
Wait, 1,000 to 1.
1,000 to 1. While keeping the signal quality very high, we're talking a signal-to-noise ratio above 28 dB. For context, some other leading systems might get around 50 to 1 compression.
That's a monumental difference. What does that enable?
It means you can potentially get data approaching whole brain mapping levels, transmitted wirelessly using standard protocols like Bluetooth 5.3, all without sacrificing performance or needing massive power.
Okay, 1,000 to 1. I have to ask, are there any tiny trade-offs, like a slight delay or anything lost in that compression?
Remarkably, the fidelity seems to hold up incredibly well. The system boasts about 94.8% accuracy in decoding motor imagery, like thinking about moving your hand.
Almost 95% accuracy, wow.
And the power consumption is super low, 2.1 milliwatts total. That's nearly an 89% reduction compared to sending raw data. But maybe the biggest impact for you, the user, calibration time.
Yeah, I've heard that can be a pain with current BCIs.
It can be. Daily calibrations, sometimes 45 minutes or more. ENS, they're projecting just 5 minutes per week.
5 minutes a week.
Per week. So for you, this means much finer control, richer data for therapies, maybe controlling a prosthetic limb with more dexterity or communicating more fluidly, and it's just far less hassle day to day. Much more practical.
Okay, so we have safer insertion with VNS, incredible data handling with ANP. But that data, it's your thoughts, your intentions.
Yeah.
That brings us back to security. How does ENIS lock this down? Because the idea of brain hacking is, well,
it's deeply unsettling, and rightly so. This is where ENIS introduces the Quantum Biometric Vault, or QBV.
Quantum biometric vaults. Okay, sounds serious.
It is. It's a multi-layered security system, and the core idea is pretty amazing. It uses your own unique brain activity, the natural chaotic noise patterns in your neural signals, your neural noise entropy, to generate the cryptographic keys.
So, my brain is the key.
In a very real sense, yes. Your unique neural fingerprint generates these super strong 256-bit keys for biometric authentication. It's inherently tied to you.
That's wild. Is that, like, theoretically crackable if someone could somehow mimic my brain patterns?
Well, that's where the quantum part comes in for securing the communication channel. ENIS uses the BB84 quantum key distribution protocol. This relies on the fundamental principles of quantum mechanics.
How does that work? Simply.
Basically, if anyone tries to eavesdrop on the key exchange while it's happening over the dedicated fiber optic link, the very act of observing the quantum state changes it. It immediately flags an intrusion. It's like trying to catch a soap bubble. The moment you touch it, it pops.
So the laws of physics themselves provide the security.
Pretty much. Trying to brute force guess these keys. Calculations suggest it would take longer than the current age of the universe, something like 10 to the power of 77 years.
Okay, so not happening anytime soon.
Not likely. And there's another layer called dynamic obfuscation. When the system is idle, It injects adaptive noise patterns into the data stream just to make it even harder for anyone to make sense of residual signals.
It sounds incredibly robust.
The testing backs that up. They ran 1 million simulated intrusion attempts, 0 successful attacks. It provides security right down to the physical layer, preventing those scary cyber-physical attacks where someone might try to manipulate the device itself. For you, this means an unprecedented level of confidence that your neural data, your thoughts, are protected. It safeguards your neuroidentity.
That level of security is crucial for trust. But there's still that deeper ethical layer, right? Beyond just preventing hacks, what about consent, control, ensuring I am always the one in charge of my own mind?
Absolutely fundamental. And ENIC addresses this with its 4th pillar, the Ethomec Compliance Unit.
Ethomec, like ethics and mechanics.
Exactly. It's designed to be ethical by design, with rules enforced right in the hardware. It starts with what they call tripartite consent verification.
Tripartite, 3 parts.
Yep. First, a standard pre-surgical cryptographic signature like signing a digital consent form. Second, a neural comprehension check. The system actually monitors specific brain activity patterns like the tagagamma coherence while you review the consent information to help ensure you genuinely understand it.
Whoa, okay. It checks if you're understanding.
It tries to gauge comprehension, yeah. But the third part is perhaps the most remarkable: continuous opt-out capability based on detecting specific brain oscillations.
Continuous opt-out.
It constantly monitors for a specific pattern in your prefrontal cortex theta oscillations around 5-10 hertz. This pattern is associated with essentially signaling no or withdrawing consent internally. If it detects this pattern consistently, the system can pause or halt operations.
So, my brain can literally tell the BCI to stop in real time just by thinking no in a certain way, even if I can't physically say it or do anything.
That's the idea. It's like a built-in, always-on neural kill switch.
That is profound.
Yeah.
That feels like it fundamentally shifts the power dynamic back to the user. What about preventing misuse, like unintended enhancements or features being turned on?
That's covered by something called dual-use lockout. There are physical interrupts built into the hardware on the FPGA level. These physically block any non-therapeutic or enhancement functions until they've been rigorously proven safe and you've specifically consented to them.
So no surprise upgrades you didn't ask for.
Exactly. And for total transparency, every single action, every data access, every command is logged on a private Hyperledger blockchain. It creates this unalterable audit trail, so you know exactly what the system has been doing.
Okay, so the Ethomec unit really focuses on guaranteeing neuroautonomy, that kill switch. How reliable is it?
In their preclinical tests, they reported 100% reliability with a response time of just 150 milliseconds. Very fast, very dependable. It's all about ensuring your free will is paramount, that the interaction is always on your terms, enforced by the hardware itself.
That feels like a truly necessary component for any BCI going forward. Okay, so putting it all together, the VNS for safety, A&P for data, QBV for security, Ethomec for ethics. This sounds like a remarkably complete system. What can it actually do in the real world for patients?
Well, this tight integration enables really sophisticated closed-loop therapies, where the system reads brain activity, interprets it, and then potentially stimulates or controls something in response, all very quickly.
Like what, for example?
For motor restoration helping people with paralysis, it can achieve really high accuracy, around 96.4%, in controlling assistive robotics, like robotic arms or exoskeletons.
So very precise control based on thought.
Yes. Or for epilepsy, it can detect the very start of seizure activity and deliver phase-locked stimulation to essentially cancel out the epileptiform discharges. And it does this incredibly fast, a response latency of about 4.8 milliseconds.
Wow, that's fast. How does that compare?
It's about 5.2 times faster than some other prominent systems being developed. That speed is critical for intervening effectively. Absolutely.
And what about long-term use? Do these signals stay strong?
That's another impressive benchmark. ENIS shows chronic signal stability of about 94.5% after 12 months. That's roughly 2.4 times longer signal stability compared to many current systems. That longevity is vital for practical use.
Okay, so the potential is huge. How far away is this from actual clinical use? What's the timeline look like?
The roadmap is pretty clear. They're targeting phase I safety studies in humans, specifically using ovine models initially between 2026 and 2028.
Okay, first safety checks.
Then phase 2 trials focused on locked-in syndrome, aiming for high communication accuracy, planned for 2029 to 2031.
Helping people communicate again.
Exactly. And then phase 3, the big pivotal trials for broader paralysis applications, are projected for 2032 to 2034. And it's likely this will proceed under the FDA's breakthrough device designation, potentially speeding things up.
So, still several years out, but a clear path. What about cost? These advanced technologies are often incredibly expensive.
That's actually another potentially disruptive aspect. The projections estimate a 60% cost reduction compared to current BCI systems.
60% cheaper. How?
It likely stems from the endovascular approach being less complex surgically, maybe more scalable manufacturing for the scaffold, and the efficiency of the processing reducing hardware demands. But making it significantly more affordable would be huge for accessibility.
Absolutely. Making it reachable for more people who need it. Are there still challenges or limitations they're working on? No tech is perfect right out of the gate.
Of course. They acknowledge areas for ongoing work. Things like further optimizing power consumption, managing even the small residual risk of thrombosis, blood clots, associated with any endovascular device, and accounting for the natural variations in people's vascular anatomy.
And how are they tackling those?
They have strategies. For power, things like graphene supercapacitors or better energy harvesting. For thrombosis risk, they're looking at anticoagulant-eluting hydrogels coatings that slowly release blood thinners. And for anatomy, using patient-specific computer modeling, CFD, before the procedure to plan the safest route.
So they're aware of the hurdles and actively working on solutions. It really does sound like a potential game changer for people dealing with paralysis, epilepsy, maybe other neurological conditions too.
It really does aim to make advanced neurotechnology more effective, safer, and critically more accessible.
So when we look back at everything we've discussed today, this Endovascular Neural Interface System, ENIS, it feels like more than just an upgrade. It feels like a genuine paradigm shift, doesn't it?
I think that's fair to say. The way it integrates the endovascular deployment for safety, the quantum-level security, the efficient processing, and crucially, that hardware-enforced ethics component. It directly addresses those 4 fundamental BCI challenges in a really cohesive way.
Safety, bandwidth, security, and ethics,
Yeah.
all tackled within one system.
Right. And the future work they're planning is just as exciting. Extending the human trials, the SWIT-CH trial, exploring materials like graphene for the electrodes. They're talking about potentially reaching a density of 500,000 channels.
500,000 channels, the level of detail,
Mm-hmm.
the control. That's hard to even imagine.
It opens up incredible possibilities.
So it leaves us with a really interesting thought, doesn't it, for you listening?
Mm.
If a system like ENIS promises a future where our most personal data, our very thoughts, can be secured almost absolutely with quantum protection, and where our autonomy, our ability to say no, is guaranteed by the hardware itself, how might that fundamentally change what it even means to be connected? And maybe more profoundly, what new frontiers of human experience of potential could that kind of safe, secure, and ethical connection unlock for you?